There's so much joy in coming together to practice the Dhamma, to cultivate the heart, to meet friends on the path again, and to meet new friends on the path. One of my beloved Dhamma teachers in Burma, an Abhidhamma teacher, always begins a talk by saying, "Good morning" or "Good afternoon, Dhamma brothers and sisters." But it's true, we're all brothers and sisters. So we come together here, supported by this wonderful place and these wonderful people, Shani, Sandra, all the staff, Donatella translating, Federica managing. It takes a lot of work to pull this together. And we come together here as Dhamma brothers and sisters with all this effort that we make to come, that is made to support us, to simply remember that. Because we forget. Yeah, and lots of things get in the way of that understanding, that heart knowledge of how close we are to each other. So we practice to remember that. And we'll all of us will spend the week doing that. So warmly, warmly, warmly welcome. I used to be a lay person. I know what it takes to get to a retreat. And I know what it takes to enter a retreat, how sometimes we bring home with us, and it takes a while to really arrive. So you've made a lot of effort and sacrifice to come, time away from your work, your family, your responsibilities. Please, having done that, or now that you have done that, please relax. Because often having done that, we come, I'm going to make the most of it, and everything is tight. Dhamma, Dharma, basically means nature. And metta, this quality of heart that we will cultivate this week, meaning friendliness, is one aspect of Dhamma. So it's not something that we don't already have access to. We just remember. I'll be saying quite a bit about metta this week. I don't want to talk too much about it right now, except to say relaxation, ease, is one important foundation of this practice. You cannot create metta. You're not here to do that. You're here to remember it. And whether we do vipassana practice or metta practice, it's not about attaining, getting, having something. It's about creating the conditions for that to arise by itself. So, when I say relax, of course you don't want to waste your time here, and I would never encourage that. But please remember that you can't create this. All you have to do is follow the basic instructions that I will offer.
Quindi,
and keep going. And this process is mysterious. It happens by itself. So, there are some things I want to speak of briefly now, tonight, that support the unfolding of the practice, that are creative conditions, that support the arising of insight, metta, the deepening of the practice, whether it's metta practice or vipassana practice. And so what I want to talk about a little bit tonight, as we enter this retreat together, we begin this journey together, are the essential elements of any retreat. These things that create a container for the unfolding of the practice. Some of these things you've already learned of practically from Federica, and I just want to kind of emphasize the importance of them. Retreat, the word in English, means to remove yourself, to go away from the conditions of our everyday lives into a solitary space, a solitary container amongst each other. And it's a paradox. We're all together in this, but we are by ourselves. And so one of the most important elements of this container of the retreat is the silence, the noble silence. That means not speaking to each other, not writing notes to each other, not reading, and not writing yourself, not journaling, not spending time writing poetry or whatever you might normally write. So noble silence is external silence between us and internal silence within ourselves. And one thing I want to be very clear about is with this business of internal silence is please don't worry about the mind thinking. You can't control that. It doesn't mean you won't think or shouldn't think. It simply means not to encourage creative or process thinking by writing. It's really natural that we want to hang on to that, to write it down so that we won't forget it. But the moment we do that, we've stopped the process and we're just remembering. It's just blah, 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 blah. If it's something really important, you will not forget it. You can trust that. And I know this is difficult for a lot of people. It was difficult for me. I used to write poetry and it took over retreats. But not only was it not good poetry, it wasn't good practice either. So silence, yeah. Even if you struggle with this, please keep going with it. I really encourage that. So that's the first element of the container of the retreat. The second is, of course, the schedule for the weekend, or the first couple of days, to establish a momentum. We'll be having group sittings, group walkings. You've seen the schedule that's posted. Or I assume you've seen the schedule that's posted. And I really would like to ask that you come to sittings on time and not come in after the sitting has begun. And of course, if there's something that calls you to leave, something physical that you need to do, don't feel shy to leave. But otherwise, please just maintain that communal rhythm of sitting and walking for the first couple of days. The first couple of days of a retreat can be a challenge. So having a schedule of group sitting and walking is a huge support for that. It gives you discipline. Eventually, when in 2 or 3 or 4 days, depending on how it feels in here, we'll open it up a bit. But still there will be this rhythm of sitting and walking and sitting and walking. And your mutual support of each other in this is just one of the most important parts of the retreat. So thank you in advance for that, because we can't do this alone. Oh, you can, but it's much, much harder. So there's the silence, there's the schedule and the group sittings. The third aspect that is part of the container of this retreat is what I bring to it, which will be interviews and Dhamma talks. So tomorrow will be a day of no interviews. It'll be a day for you to really get the momentum of the practice going. And then day after tomorrow we'll have group interviews where I'll see all of you in 4 groups. And then on the succeeding days, the days after that, there will be individual interviews, 2 groups each day. So you will each have 3 individual interviews with me privately. Some people don't like interviews because it feels like pressure. But this is not an examination. You can't pass or fail an interview. This is basically a way of me learning how it's going for you. And when the time comes, I'll say a few words about what that means. And then each night I will be giving a Dhamma talk in here in the evening, which is, for at least some of the times I've been on retreat, that's the most entertaining part of the day. A relief. And the purpose, though, is not entertainment, but to share what my teachers have shared with me about metta, to perhaps inspire, and really to give you some sense of what we're doing here, the context, and to share what the Buddha taught about metta. And then in amongst all of that Dhamma activity, there is your yogi job, and there are wonderful, beautiful, very healthy, tasty meals that are also huge supports for the practice. None of these things are separate from the practice. Not the working, not the eating. They're in fact opportunities to continue to cultivate loving kindness in a more engaged way. So all of these are elements of this container, this framework of the retreat. And the amazing work that everybody here does to keep this place going is the external aspect of that framework. And what that framework, whether the external framework or the container of the retreat, what both of those it has as a foundation is ethical conduct. So I tend to find myself talking about sila, ethical conduct, as part of the container of the retreat, but really it's the entire foundation of it. My preceptor and Vipassana teacher, Sayadaw U Pandita, used to speak at great length about the importance of ethical conduct to the practice itself. And there are a number of reasons that ethical conduct is important as the foundation of the practice. And I don't want to go into any depth about that right now because it'll take a whole hour. But primarily we're here to cultivate kindness, metta, benevolence. And each one of these precepts is a metta practice in itself. Because we undertake the training. This is how these precepts are articulated. We undertake the training not to cause harm to others. This is a really long tradition, and there's a reason for that. Besides simply creating a place of safety for others, this also develops the heart and protects our own heart from any remorse that might arise because of something we've done. So the precepts protect us, they protect each other, and they're a metta practice in themselves. So you've all been sitting here for a while. What I want to do is take a short break, but before we do that, I want to formally enter into this retreat by offering the precepts, and we'll chant them together. So how many of you are familiar with these? Or let me put it this way. How many of you do not know these precepts? Okay. Not so many. Okay.
Non così
Those of
tanti.
you who do not know them, we'll chant them tonight, call and response. These are not in Italian or English, but in Pali, which is the language in which the Buddhist texts were written down. There is on these sheets, on one side it's the Pali and the English, the other side it's the Pali and the Italian. This side with the bold print might be easier to follow when you're chanting. But feel free to also look at the back side, maybe at some point this evening, to get a sense of what you are undertaking. These are not rules, but a training. So it's not like I will not. It's like I undertake the training to refrain from. So please let this in. This is another place to relax. If you find yourself, by force of habit, breaking a precept, perhaps you hit a mosquito, don't judge yourself. Don't think of yourself as a failure. Simply, oh, and then repeat that precept to yourself again. Oh, I undertake the training to refrain from. This is one of the most beautiful aspects of this practice. It is completely understood that we will sometimes break the precepts, no matter how much we want to not do that, until we are awake, until we have attained really significant depth of practice. Habit is present and manifests. And the whole point of taking these precepts is to have a way of reminding ourselves again and again and again, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. So we will chant 9 precepts. The 9th precept is the only one that is not undertaking the training to refrain from something. And this is a precept to cultivate loving kindness. Most monastics, or most retreats led by monastics, require that people take all of these precepts. But because this is a metta retreat, and because many people here in the West are not used to doing this, I will not require that you take these precepts, all of them. I will invite you to try it if you are interested. If you want to deepen your commitment to this, experiment with your capacity to experiment with what is it to refrain from. So all of us will take the first 5 and the last one. And if you are interested and want to explore the other 3, I would really, really, really encourage you to do this, because they simplify life. And that's very supportive of the practice. The hardest one for people, of course, is the 6th precept, which is a precept that is undertaking the training to refrain from eating after the noon meal. We're not used to doing this so much, but it's really, really supportive of the practice. So I would encourage you to play with this if you're interested. And I don't know, but I assume there is a sign-up sheet for the kitchen. Yeah, you already know about this.
So
one thing I would say about this is, if you want to try it, try it. If it's really taking you in a very difficult place, feel free to take your name off that list. Yeah, give it a couple of days. It takes some time to get used to this. For me now, it feels like just normal, the normal way of living. But that's taken a long time. Don't worry if there are feelings of discomfort. Hunger is a normal physical thing. And one of the things that this precept does very well is it helps us change our relationship to hunger and to find other sources of comfort besides food. They're actually deeper and much more profound. So to feel hunger and to let it in and radiate loving kindness to oneself, may I be at ease with these sensations, is actually incredibly supportive of a very wholesome and balanced relationship with food. To be able to comfort ourselves with care, as opposed to taking some external substance and using that as comfort, is it's very supportive out there in life. And if you have, or I should say but, if you have had a difficult relationship with food, if you've had some relationship to food that has been very, very challenged, be careful with this precept and don't feel you have to take it. So let's take these beautiful precepts together. So I will chant a line. Please repeat it back to me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
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 Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Panatipata.
Panapata. Satipata,
Veramani,
Veramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikapadam,
Samadhiyami,
Samadhiyami,
Adina Dana,
Ananadana,
Veramani,
Veramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikapadam,
Samadhiyami,
Samadhiyami,
Abrahmacharya,
Abrahmacharya,
Veramani,
Veramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikapadam,
Samadhiyami,
Samadhiyami,
Musawada,
Musavada,
Veramani,
Veramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikapadam,
Samadhiyami,
Samadhiyami,
Sura Meraya,
Sura Meraya,
Majjapamadatthana,
Majjapamadatthana,
Veramani,
Veramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikapadam,
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
And those of you who would like to take the 9 precepts.
Per quelli che prenderanno
Vikala Bhojana, Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhiyami, Nacha, Gita, Wadita, Visukadasana, Malaganda, Vilepanna, Dharana, Mandana, Vibhusanatana, Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhiyami, Uchasayana, Mahasayana, Veramani, Sikapadang, Samadhiyami. And everybody.
E tutti.
Metta,
Metta,
Sahagatena,
Sahagatena,
Cetasa,
Cetassa,
Sabhavantam,
Sabhavantam,
Lokang,
Lokam,
Paritva,
Paritva,
Viharami,
Viharami,
Idam me silang,
Idam me silam,
Magga Palanyanasa,
Magapala Jnanasa,
Pachayo Hotu.
Pachayo Hotu.
And together.
Tutti insieme.
Sadhu,
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 Sadhu.
Now you are adorned with the garland of Sila. It is an adornment, a beautification of the heart, and a rare and precious thing in this world. And with this, we begin our journey together. What I will share with you does not come from me. It came from the Buddha. He taught this practice. And it has been over the millennia practiced by countless people. So in chanting the homage and the refuges before the precepts. We remember this. Starting with the Buddha, countless people have struggled with habit, have struggled with the practice, have gone through the process of training and purification that is this metta practice, and succeeded. And if they can, we can. So we take refuge in this and begin the practice together.